Okay, so let's just jump right in. We all know the legend of Sleepy Hollow, right? The spooky story of Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman. But what happens when you rip that classic American folktale out of its cozy little valley and drop it into the harsh, chaotic American West? Well, this isn't just about changing the background. As we're about to see, this is a blueprint for completely reinventing the story's core ideas, turning a simple ghost story into a full-blown metaphysical war. So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at how the myth itself gets reimagined. Then, we'll dig into why the West is the perfect crucible for this new version. We'll see how the characters get forged into totally new archetypes, which sets the stage for a literal war over what's real. And finally, we'll wrap up with the seriously cynical truth this version tells us about the power of myth. All right, part one, a myth reimagined. The genius of the original Sleepy Hollow is that it always leaves you wondering, was it a real ghost, or was it just a really good prank? Well, the goal of this Western Hollow idea is to take that question and just blow it up, turning it into a spectacular, literal battle over the nature of truth itself. And this quote from the proposal really nails it. This is not about just putting cowboy hats on characters we already know. It is a fundamental re-engineering of its thematic DNA. The ambition here is to basically get under the hood of the story, pull out the engine, and build a whole new one for a more modern, maybe more cynical audience. So here's the key. The whole concept takes its inspiration from these wild, reality-bending comics, where history isn't set in stone, it's something that can be fought over and changed. It takes Irving's central mystery and just cranks it up to 11. It's not just a question for us to think about anymore. It becomes the driving force of the entire plot, a battle fought right on the edge of belief and existence. Now let's talk about the single biggest change in this whole proposal, moving the story from that quiet, almost dreamlike valley to a hostile town in the Old West. This new setting isn't just window dressing, it's a crucible. It takes all the conflicts from the original story and makes them way hotter, way more desperate. And you can see right here how that sharpens the conflict. On one side, you have the Hollow, this little town that's basically frozen in time. Their whole identity is built on stories and superstitions, which is almost an act of rebellion. And on the other side, you have the outsider, the agent of progress from the East, who looks at their land and just sees dollar signs. What used to be a little town rivalry is now a fight for the soul of the community. So, in this much more dangerous world, the characters can't just be some local folks anymore. Nope. They have to be bigger. They have to become powerful symbols, almost like national archetypes that represent these huge, clashing American ideas. Which brings us to Ichabod Crane. Forget the clumsy, superstitious schoolteacher. In this version, he's a land speculator, a carpetbagger. He's a much more threatening figure. He's basically the embodiment of that greedy, manifest destiny ambition that wants to swallow up tradition for a quick buck. And standing against him is Brom Bones. He's no longer just a simple prankster trying to win a girl. He gets elevated into the town's symbolic protector, its immune response. His toughness isn't just for show. It's the necessary force that a community needs to defend itself from something that's trying to invade and destroy it. He is tradition fighting back. And this visual just perfectly captures that new dynamic. You can feel the predatory nature of this new Ichabod. It's this almost Faustian ambition, you know? It's the kind of progress that doesn't build things, it just consumes what's already there for its own selfish gain. Okay, now we get to the heart of the whole concept. This is how the proposal takes that classic theme of illusion versus reality and turns it into an actual metaphysical war. So, just as a quick refresher on the brilliance of the original, Irving basically gives us two doors, right? Door number one, the supernatural story. A real ghost got Ichabod. Door number two, the rational prank. Brom Bones dressed up like a ghost to scare his rival away. Both are totally possible. And of course, Irving gives us that one big clue that points toward the rational explanation, the smashed pumpkin they find the next day. It's the little wink that tells us this whole terrifying thing was probably just a man-made trick. But this is where the new proposal takes that clue and asks a much, much bigger question. What if belief itself actually has the power to create reality? I mean, really think about that. This is the moment everything pivots. The graphic novel doesn't care if the ghost was real or not. It suggests that if a whole community believes in something hard enough, maybe that belief can make it real. And this is where it gets so cool. The idea is that the town's superstition isn't a weakness, it's their greatest weapon. Their collective belief in the Headless Horseman literally becomes a supernatural shield. It's a force they create to fight back against the cold, hard logic of the outside world that Ichabod is trying to bring in. The ambiguity isn't just a theme anymore. It's a literal war for what's real. So, where does all of this lead? Let's get to the conclusion, which has this really powerful, deeply cynical message about Ichabod's fate and the power of myth. Here's the big, ironic twist. In this version, when Ichabod gets run out of town, it's not actually a failure. It's more like a graduation. All those character flaws that made him an outcast in a traditional place, like the Hollow, well, it turns out those are the exact same traits that make him a massive success in the so-called progressive outside world. So what are these keys to modern success? A pompous attitude, self-serving greed, and, being just a little bit gullible. Remember, in the original story, Irving jokes that Ichabod goes on to become a successful lawyer and judge. This proposal takes that satirical jab and makes it a central thesis. Our modern, rational world doesn't just tolerate these flaws, it actively rewards them. And that leaves us with this final, really thought-provoking question. If the rational world is a system that promotes greed and gullibility, then which reality is the one that's actually broken? Is it the superstitious little town that protects its values, or is it the enlightened society that celebrates the very worst parts of human nature? It's a pretty biting commentary on American myth-making, and it forces you to ask what our own success stories are really built on.